Hey.
Hey folks, this is Will from Dire Consciousness Films, and in this video I'm just going to give you 3 simple tips to make your Lyft rides a better experience. Alright, so for the first example, here I'm holding onto my camera and I'm showing you the address. Well, the reason I'm doing this is by the way, this is a tutorial, this is not someone's actual address or anything, so don't worry about it. But anyway, my biggest recommendation above anything else is to make sure you put down the correct address when you're ordering a ride, for a few reasons. Number one, it's going to make it a lot easier for me to get to where you are much faster. The other thing is too is, for instance, the other day this happened to me where the passenger put down the wrong address, and when I got there and hit arrive, that sent her a prompt and she realized, oh, this guy's not where I needed him to be. She called, long story short, she called me and said, hey, can you please cancel the ride? I put down the wrong address. Now, for a driver canceling the ride, that affects their acceptance rating. And that could mean anything from not hitting your power bonus, not this and that. And I understand that for a passenger, they get charged for that. And this is why I'm making this video, because it makes it a little bit awkward and it's kind of unfair for the driver to have to get off his route to go pick you up and then you ask him to cancel the ride when it was your fault. But she ended up canceling herself anyway before I even did it. So it wasn't a big deal for me. But to make it easier for you and also faster for you, just double check when you put down your address. Real simple, but sometimes people make mistakes. Just create the habit and it won't happen. Now, my other tip, as you can see, this is, like I said, this is part of a tutorial for new drivers, but right here you see John's name and John's picture. These are my next 2 tips here. The picture helps immensely. There have been many times where I've gone somewhere in front of a bar or a store or wherever, and there'll be a huge group of people, and, you know, for instance, 25 guys, and which one's John? Because there's nothing here. It makes it a lot easier for me to spot you. As a driver, I look at the picture and then I look for you wherever, you know, once I get to the destination. And that just helps make things easier. Maybe you don't see me. Maybe you're standing out there and I see you because you provided a picture, and I can call you, flag you down, something so you can get in, especially when the weather's bad or something. It helps. So I recommend, not everybody's doing this, and I'm seeing this more and more where people aren't putting a picture, or they're using a crazy picture. Not a crazy picture, but just something else, a design or some group photo, and it's like, just put it right. You see how John's here, chilling, hanging out. He's got his glasses on, nice shirt, nice sweater, you know, boom, real easy to see. Pretty decent headshot. Something like that. You know, that helps me as a driver get to you faster, believe it or not. Also, the name. I've come across a lot of crazy names, and the worst for me as a driver, my biggest pet peeve is when I get somewhere, there's no picture, and the name is like Shadow or some crazy whatever. And then, because when I hit accept, I see, you know, somewhere up here where you're going to go. There's nothing there too. So I have no idea who you are, what your name is, or where you have to go. That makes me feel a little nervous as a driver because I have no information about you, you know. And I've never canceled a ride because of that, but it has kind of like made me think twice and be a little bit more apprehensive about things because I don't know who you are, you know. So and this makes it easier too. You know, the other side of things that you may not know is that this doesn't happen a lot, but I have heard stories about people getting into Lyft and Uber cars and say, you know, and they just get in and it's like the driver believes that's the person they're supposed to pick up. They take off and then the driver gets a call halfway into the ride like, hey, where are you? You haven't picked me up. And they got some random guy in the car. That's, you know, I don't know how much that's happened, but I've read stories about that. So to prevent something like that from happening, put your picture on there, put your name on there. Boom. Now, if you're worried about privacy or anything like that, you're not comfortable with putting your name at least, that's okay. You can put whatever you want, really. What I would say at that point, just, as soon as you get in the car, tell the driver your name. That'll make things a little bit easier, and then that lets me know exactly who you are. Sometimes I ask, sometimes I don't. But and sometimes people just say, "Hey, the Lyft ride for Jessica, whatever, Lyft ride for John," and boom, I know exactly who you are, and that helps. So these are just some really simple tips, and I'm sure that in the app, I've never used Lyft as a passenger, only as a driver, but I'm sure somewhere on there it tells you put your picture up, put your name up, and if it doesn't, then I hope this video really helps. So that's basically it. Just to recap. Make sure you are where you say you are. Your picture, your name, all that makes it very easy. All right. All right. So for my last tip is all right, so for my last tip, it involves navigation. Now, I used to use a little backstory about myself. I used to use Google Maps, and a lot of my passengers started telling me about Waze. Now, I knew very little about Waze. I knew that it was another navigation app, and then I finally switched to Waze because my passengers were just telling me all about it. They said it's better, it's easier, gives you a better route. Then I switched to Waze, and then people were complaining about where the GPS was taking them. So it was kind of like a no-win situation almost, but regardless, I guess that's a little bit of a rant. But what I'm really trying to say is that, or as a tip, if there's a better route that feel free to direct the driver where you got to go. Whenever a passenger tells me like, oh, you know what, I don't know why it's telling you make a left over here, just keep going. That for me, that makes my job easier. It really does. I don't get annoyed or insulted or anything. Feel free to tell a driver where the route that you want them to take. Don't be nervous. Don't just tell them. It's not a big deal. I've never heard of anybody, because I talk to my passengers all the time, and they tell me stories about their drivers and stuff. And I never heard anyone say anything that a driver got upset because they were being told by the passenger what to do and whatnot. So that's my last tip, I guess. If you have a better way to get somewhere, by all means, say something. If you're a little nervous, I can understand if it's like a quiet ride. Sometimes I get that. And you don't really want to talk or anything. Then I don't know, what to tell you at that point. But if you have a better route, feel free to just tell the driver. For me as a driver, like I said, it makes my job easier because then I don't have to pay attention to the GPS. I can just focus on the road, and you can just tell me where to go. Make a left right here, make a right here. It really does make it easier and kind of safer, actually. So that's about it. I know these are pretty basic tips and stuff, but it's not for everybody. There really isn't much else I can say to make the ride easier, except just the things that I said. Remember to put the correct address. Remember to be where you are supposed to be. Your picture helps a lot, and your name helps a lot too. And just like I just said about the navigation thing, feel free to tell us what to do, in my opinion. Like I said, I never heard anybody getting mad about that. And, if you have a crazy driver, I'm not saying, Lyft drivers are known for being a little bit better than Uber, but don't, if the guy's a psychopath, obviously just, your safety comes first, but don't be scared to tell a driver where to go. I don't have a problem with it. Like I said, it makes my job easier. Anyway, I feel like I'm starting to ramble, so I'm going to cut it off right here. My next Lyft video is going to be for drivers, but I think it's an interesting perspective. So if you're a passenger, go ahead and watch that one too. Otherwise, have a great day. This is Will from Dire Consciousness Films, and I'll see you guys later.